What's up, internet? My name's Ori. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. You like this video, hit that like button, hit that notification bell. You'll never miss a video. You'll never miss a stream. Today, we're breaking down the 7th episode of The Amazing Race, Season 34. And to start things off, we're headed from Jordan to the south of France. Much different location. Quite a big difference here in those locations. We start off in a castle, and apparently this location here has over 1,001 castles all throughout. So there's a lot of like medieval themes going on, which totally I'm loving. Recently I was watching The House of Dragon. I've been rewatching Game of Thrones, so I'm kind of like I'm digging the castle vibes from this episode. And when we had what was it, Aubrey and Will, not Aubrey and Will, Abby and Will get eliminated last week, we found out that there was no non-elimination legs after all, and we had a non-elimination leg last week, meaning that Glenda and Labumba, even though they came in last, they got to stick around for this next leg. But they did have a penalty where they would have to start 45 minutes after the first place team would leave, which isn't really much of a punishment if you really think about it. Like, that's kind of the norm of what they were getting anyway. Was it going to be enough for them to, not be able to stick around this leg? Well, let's find out in this episode. Group 1 leaves, and it's Lewis and Michelle and Aubrey and David. They were teams 1 and 2 last leg, so they left first. Lewis and Michelle kind of take their time. They're like, hey, let's find the place on the map. Let's figure out where we're going first before we head off. We don't want to just run into it. Meanwhile, Aubrey and David, they book it. They just kind of took off without looking at the map. They end up having to pull over, and then Team Miami kind of like pulls up to them. It was kind of awkward. So that was a whole thing. Then we get group number 2 leaving with Quentin and Maddie and Derek and Claire. They kind of pass the other teams, and Derek tells Aubrey and David, like, hey, follow us, like, come on. And Claire wasn't cool with this. She was like, why are you telling them to follow us? And Derek's like, what? Like, hey, worst case, if we get lost, like, we drag them with us. Which, I don't know. What do you guys think of that as a strategy? Right? Like, do you want to ever help a team because then you have somebody close to you, or do you just want to beat everybody outright to the place? Or do you kind of want to double down if you're not sure about if you're going the right way or not? Do you try and mislead another team to come with you so that you're both lost and then hopefully you can beat them? If you do that, you're going to want to do it with a team that you feel like you can beat in any kind of competition, like one that you can beat in some kind of a puzzle or an endurance type thing. Because if you don't, you're kind of setting yourself up for failure, that they're going to beat you at whatever thing you end up getting to. Now Lewis and Michelle, they decide like not to follow. They're like, no, we're not going to follow them. Like, we're gonna go our own way. And it works out for Derek and Claire because they do end up going the wrong way. This is a little bit of a theme for the episode. Lots of wrong turns and bad directions coming up towards the end of this. Group 3 ends up leaving, and it's Marcus and Michael, the brothers, Emily and Molly, the twins. We did get a fun little segment where the twins were giving us like little similarities between themselves that they didn't know about. Like, apparently, what was it, when they were in 5th grade, they both got in trouble for kissing their boyfriend. There was like these like weird like things where they're like, yeah, like, we were twins who were separated at birth, grew up separately, but we have like these really weird things that have happened to us that are also similar. And like, it was something about like the breakfast they eat or something like that was like the same. I don't know, these funny little things that are kind of cool with their whole story. Because I've said it before that I really love the whole idea that they were twins. They didn't know that they were even had a sister, and then to find out that you do have a long-lost sibling, but it's also your twin. That's just such a fascinating thing. So hearing more about their little mini adventure in this great adventure that they're on is always a lot of fun. But we do get Glenda and Labumba to finally set off, and she makes mention Glenda, who's driving, she's like, I just don't want to drive in a ditch. And I heard it, and I was like, you know what? Okay, we'll see how this goes. Now we get to the roadblock finally, and it's climbing the family tree. So there's this big family tree of these old, knights and lords and maidens and whatever, ladies, queens, kings, and all their little like house sigils. And they had to kind of memorize this thing, but then they would have to rappel down the castle, go around, and then there were all these 5 flags up, and they had to kind of match up the names. So the smart strategy, which was actually what Michelle ended up doing, was to go down first, look at the flags, look at the names, memorize those, go back to the family tree and look at it, and then be like, oh, okay, boom, I'm good. And Team Miami, Lewis and Michelle, they got there so much faster than everyone else. She went down, looked at the flags, and got back there like before like anyone even like really showed up. Like she got there down there twice before most of the teams even got down once. Like it was so impressive. She just kind of crushed it. And then poor Michael though, on the other hand. Poor Michael, he goes down, he repels. He's like, all right, now where do I go? And he gets lost. He sees the flags, but like off from a distance. He has no clue that there's even names there. So when he goes and studies, he's like, oh, I'll remember the women's names, but it was all like men's names that he had to memorize. It was a bit of a mess. For him with this roadblock, really kind of a mess. And we do get a little flash after most of the teams have kind of started on the roadblock to Glenda and Labumba, and wouldn't you know it, they drove into a ditch. Yeah, legit a ditch, like one wheel in the air. They were safe, everybody was safe, nobody got hurt, the car seemed fine. It was kind of cool to see the like behind the scenes kind of stuff going on too. They had like one of their security guys like come on over and be like, "Are you guys okay?" Like they're like, "Yeah, we're good." There was like a local dude here who was like, "Oh, I'll get the neighbor. I'm gonna go get a tractor." And the next thing you know, this tractor pulls up with this badass lady farmer who pulls their car out of the ditch. She was awesome, and they're back on the road. Like they're like, hey, we're in this, and they get back up and running. Let's head back to the roadblock where Maddie ends up finishing and does a really great job as well. They were kind of like the second team right behind Lois and Michael. Michael's still not having a good go with it. Either's David. David's kind of struggling with it too. Emily and Derek, they both finish up pretty quickly. Then we start getting some more bad directions because Lewis and Michael seem to get a little bit lost. Quentin, Maddie gets a little bit lost as well. The bros finish. They finish the roadblock, but Michael leaves all of his stuff back there, so they have to run back and get it. By the time they run back, David finishes, so they kind of catch up with them. That was a whole mess. They get out of there before Glenda and Labumba even get to the roadblock. So all the teams have left. Glenda and Labumba are still just getting to the roadblock. So maybe that 45 minutes after first place thing is going to be much tougher for them to overcome this episode. Well, we'll see. We get to the detour, and they had a choice between the walnut cracker or medieval gamer. So with the walnut cracker, they had this kind of like crank thing where they had to crack some walnuts, stuff them into this like meat grinder, but walnut grinder, grind it up, and this oil would drip out of it. That oil apparently they use for like lighting candles and stuff like that. It's a fuel that you could use. I didn't know that. That was interesting. So that was the first choice, and then the meat of gamer. There were like 3 different like mini games set up, kind of like puzzles, and one was like a balance thing. So they had to do that. There was like a bag toss or whatever. So those were their choices. The bros pretty much get past everybody with all of the, wrong turns and getting lost with the different directions and not being able to follow the map well. Michael and Marcus, they end up kind of getting in front of everybody, getting to the detour first. Lewis and Michelle were right after them. And it's really kind of crazy how much time they made up getting past everyone to get there. Now, Lewis and Michelle, they end up going for the mini games first, and then pretty much everybody else ends up going for the crackers. Lewis and Michelle, they really quickly, they're like, this is way hard. They go for the puzzle, and the way the puzzle worked, it was one of those ones where you had to kind of slide the ball up the thing, and there were holes. But one person had to be on the front giving directions. The other person was in the back controlling it so you couldn't see. So it was really a game about communication. They were really confused with it, so they decided to switch and go back to the nuts with everybody else. But Derek and Claire, they decided to go for the mini game. Since everybody was doing that, how do you get further? How do you take that risk and jump ahead of people? You do the different detour than everybody else. So it was a risk. But you know what? Honestly, when I first saw the setup, I immediately thought of them. From their time on Big Brother, this is like right in their wheelhouse with the type of competitions that they have on that show. So I was like, this could be a really good opportunity for them to kind of, make their way back on up. And everybody gets through pretty quickly. They kind of crush it on the mini games. The nuts don't go too bad. Everybody gets through that. So we head off to the pit stop with people leaving in order where Michael and Marcus, they got out of there first. Derek and Claire were right after them. The twins, Emily and Molly, and then Lewis and Michelle, they got out right after. And then they were followed shortly by Quentin and Maddie and Aubrey and David. Glenda and Labumba had just got there as everybody was leaving. So they're still really far behind. But then this is where more wrong turns start to take place. So first, Derek and Claire, they take like a right turn and the twins follow them. And they give that kind of that music that like, right? Like that, this is a bad thing. David and Aubrey were following Quentin and Maddie, but then David and Aubrey think that they were followed by Quentin and Maddie, but David and Aubrey think that they were going the wrong way, so they kind of turned off. And Quentin and Maddie were like, no, this is the right way. We're just going to keep on going. Which it does seem like, yeah, David and Aubrey just got confused. They were going the right way, turned around and went off. Quentin and Maddie were like, nah, we're cool. We're just going to keep on going. Even the brothers, they ended up going into like a dead end at one point, but that didn't matter. They were able to get first place. One thing that Marcus and Michael have been doing really well is navigating. So anytime it comes down to who can follow a map and follow directions the best, they're going to have a really good shot at making up a really good amount of time. They left so far behind everybody else from the roadblock, but then to not only get to the detour first, but then to keep that lead and not get lost like everybody else did. Really impressive from the two of them. They were actually followed closely by Emily and Molly and then Team BB, and there was some weird little communication errors there because they had gone the wrong way. They had to turn back, and the twins actually got ahead of them because they were like, we don't know where we're going. So then they kind of followed the twins. And then Lewis and Michelle showed up right after them. And then Quentin and Maddie got 5th place. The Glenda and Lumumba, they, felt very chill, right? The entire time they were showing them. They did the mini games detour and they're kind of like tossing it up, and every time Lumumba's like, Kobe, Jordan. He was just kind of chilling, having some fun with it. And I think they kind of knew like there was no chance for them to really catch up. But while they were chilling, having a good time, just enjoying, the rest of their time on the race, David and Aubrey were freaking out. They were having such a hard time with directions. They were kind of getting into little arguments about like, why don't you drive and navigate? And he's like, okay, I will. So there was a lot of that going back and forth, but they do hold on to beat Glenda and Labumba, meaning they were last and they are eliminated from the race. So hey, uh, did they do a great job? No. Were they really in it for the last like 3 legs of the race? No. But they were having fun. And I think they enjoyed their time. So yeah, we are down to 6 teams left. Whew. We're getting in that home stretch here. We're getting into the home stretch. There's not a lot of wiggle room anymore. You need to do well on these detours, on these roadblocks, if you want to stay in this thing. But what did you guys think? What did you think of the episode? Did you like it? Did you not? I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty good. Like I said, I kind of was digging some of the castle vibes that were going on, the medieval stuff. But yeah, good episode overall. Let me know in the comments down below what you thought. If you are new here, hit that subscribe button. If you like this video, if you made it all the way to the end of this video, smash that like button, hit that notification bell so you never miss a video, you never miss a stream. I will be live tonight on Twitch. As you're seeing this, on Friday, I will be live. I'm shooting for 6 p.m., which means I'll probably be late, which will be like 7 p.m. This is Eastern time. So come on, hang out. The link is in the description. It's in a pinned comment. You can also follow me on Twitter. You can follow the Discord, join the conversation over there. Follow what you want, ignore what you want. You know, there's links down there. Go check them out if you enjoy. But thank you guys all so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And I will see you next time. Or tonight.